It's not the days when you leap out of bed, ready to leap buildings in one bound, are the days where the roses smell sweet and the honey tastes good.
HakeemRahim recites a poem he wrote to a class at Uniondale High School. It wasn't that long ago that the 33-year-old sat in a classroom just like this one. He graduated from here in 1988 and was the school's first African-American valedictorian.
I participated in a lot of different activities. So I was a student council president at one point. I was a drum major for the marching band. I played bass clarinet in up to 10th grade. I went to all county, and I played soccer and wrestled and was a tennis player.
He was essentially Mr. Popular. In fact, he was named Mr. Uniondale during his senior year.
It was relatable. I guess everybody from the kid cutting the class to the superintendent really was supportive of me and encouraged me on, and I think I inspired people.
The inspiration continued when Hakeem began studying at Harvard University.
I was a cheerleader, people knew me as this, intelligent, bright, handsome guy, strapping guy. And, I was a poet on campus. They voted me outstanding male sophomore. So all these accolades, and I was well known, well liked.
On the surface, Hakeem's life seemed perfect, but one incident during freshman year was a clue. Everything wasn't as it seemed.
And I remember walking into the party, about 200 to 300 people there, and my heart just started leaping out of my chest. And I went back to the dorm, got underneath the covers, turned off all the lights, and was in the room by myself. Nobody else was in the dorm, on my floor at least, and didn't know what was going on.
Turns out he was having a panic attack, but he didn't know it at the time. Then things started to progress. That summer, Hakeem came home and started walking the streets of Hempstead, talking to strangers.
It was a delusion and a grandiose belief that I had the insight into the universe. So it was up to me to tell everybody that I met that let your cereal get soggy for 10 minutes every morning and you will be enlightened being.
His parents chalked up his strange behavior to stress. Then he became depressed.
I was at a manic high. In reflection, I realized it was mania. Then I crashed down into a depressive low. And it was just really rough. It was just really rough.
Still, the now sophomore went back to college where he started writing more poetry. You can see how Hakeem's handwriting changed in his poetry book. These are poems written before his manic episode, and this is what he wrote during it. His writing became erratic.
Do you understand what you were going for, or does this not make sense to you?
No, I mean, you're saying like the truth is self-evident. If you're evident as self, men are from, we are all, if thing is true, then, so that's the thought soup, like that, just words coming out.
He also started having hallucinations, saying he saw Jesus on campus. His behavior started to alarm his friends and family. That's when his parents decided to take him to a psychiatric hospital, where he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 1.
It's not easy. It's been a 14-year journey. It's been 14 years since I was diagnosed, 16 years since I had my first panic attack. I guess the reason why I talk about this stuff, one, to educate others, especially young people, and two, to help people who are going through illness. Stereotypes. What's a stereotype around mental illness?
And that's what brings Hakeem back to his alma mater. As a certified National Alliance of Mental Illness presenter, he speaks with students all over Long Island and beyond to destigmatize mental illness.
To see Hakeem and know that he has mental illness, were you a little surprised?
Honestly, yeah, because when he came in, I couldn't really tell.
And that teaches the students an important lesson.
You can't just judge somebody by how they look or how they act or something like that.
Hakeem did eventually graduate from Harvard with a degree in psychology, then went on to Columbia Grad School. He says if he knew more about mental illness as a teenager, maybe he would have been treated for it sooner. So he wants kids to be educated about it because he says half of all chronic mental illnesses begin by the age of 14. He believes the more these students know about it, the more likely they will seek treatment for it or help a friend do the same. Ivanka knows someone struggling with mental illness.
Hearing what he said, it was I know that I'm not the only person that has to deal with it.
And Hakeem is an example of someone who is fighting and winning his battle with mental illness.
If you are diagnosed, there's life after diagnosis.
Telling his story through poetry, he passes on a life lesson.
When there is so much to live for, how can the lowest point of my life ever convince me of death? I had to learn, although that I was depressed, I could never, ever, ever give up.